I'm David from Roland, and this is the Roland TR-8S 2.0 firmware update. So, what is it exactly? Well, the 2.0 update is actually a massive step for the TR-8S because it now comes with an entirely new FM sound engine. So, this lets you create and manipulate sounds in a completely new way. It has several new sounds in each category, including even melodic ones. So, let's check a few of them out. So, I'm going to start with a kick right here. Some snares, percussion, some hi-hats, and finally just some bass. So now we have a basic beat going and we can start playing around with the new Morph parameter. And the Morph parameter is essentially kind of like a macro for FM parameters. So it changes several FM parameters with one controller. It will also actually act differently depending on what sound you choose. So let's just mute everything but the bass drum here. And I can play around with the Morph on the bass drum. So now, as I go higher, you can hear the bass drum gets more aggressive and distorted as well. And when I go down, it gets softer, and finally, on the bottom, it gets a very slow attack. So let's try it with a snare and see what happens there. Now, on the max level, we have a kind of white noisy feel to the snare sound, but when I turn it down, it gets increasingly more tonal. And on the bass, we get some filter envelope stuff happening and really make it go nice and soft. Finally, let's try it with the other two. And of course, this is just a Morph parameter, but we can still combine this with the usual parameters like tune and decay, for instance. Okay, so as you can hear now, I've actually kind of messed up my kit quite a lot, and this is a good time to show you the reload feature. So the reload feature is new, or at least the shortcut is new. So with a quick button press, I can actually just completely reset the kit to the last time I saved it. So I can go from this big mess to this. So this is the last time I saved it. Let's try it again. We can completely mess everything up. And again, just reset. And this actually goes for the pattern content as well, separately. So if we completely mess up the pattern, I'm gonna save it first. So I'm gonna save the pattern and then I'm gonna completely mess it up. We'll add a whole bunch of snares, for instance. Let's say you're getting a bit carried away during a build-up and you have this going on, and then you want to get back to normal. Utility button and pattern select. And the pattern is back to normal to where you last saved it. And that's the reload function. Now, of course, you can still do motion recording, and obviously this also applies to the Morph parameter. So let's try that on a couple of tracks. And of course, you can also combine it with the normal tune and decay parameters too. And our sequences can become even more animated. And that is some of the fun you can have with the new FM sounds, but of course there's loads more sounds inside with the new 2.0 update. And also we have new effects, so let's check those out. So we have 4 completely new effect algorithms. We've got saturator, frequency shifter, ring modulation, and spread. So let's have a listen to all of these and see what they do. We'll start with the snare here. We got 0 effect right now, but we'll turn up the spread on the snare and see what happens. You can hear it increasingly spreading over left and right, along with some extra interesting modulation as well. Now let's see what the saturator can do to the bass. We'll turn it up here. The saturator is essentially an effect that divides the frequency spectrum into 3 parts and then distorts them all individually. So there we go with the saturator. Now let's try some ring modulation on the hi-hats. And finally, I have my percussive sound here with a little bit of frequency shifter. And those are the 4 new effects. So to summarize the TR-8S 2.0 firmware update, we've got new effects, we got the reload function for patterns and kits, and last but not least, of course, a complete FM sound engine. And don't forget, we can still use a sample import and also emulate vintage Roland drum machines and all of this at the same time if we wish.